how can games help us with our everyday lives? Hey guys, thank you so much and welcome to the Game Your Future podcast. I'm Daniel, and here we help gamers realize their full potential. And today I have a very special guest for you. This is Shane Kulman. Shane is also known as Enchantress Shane and works with sensitive overthinkers. And gosh, Shane, thank you so much and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
And tell us why Enchantress Shane? What is that about?
Yeah, well, I'm a huge Stevie Nicks fan, and it just sort of came about that, when you're a sensitive overthinker, you tend to notice and think about everything. And so that might mean you leave things in a better place than when you found it, even if you don't speak or say anything. And so to be enchanted has no gender. It's just about coming in, not causing any problems, being the systemator, the one who figures things out enough to see if it's staying or leaving. So there's a lot of gratitude in there. And also, I don't love social events, and it sort of separates me from having to deal with all of that like minutia. And it's like, oh, the enchantress. Yes, I'm separate. Please leave me alone, and I will proceed as needed.
Gotcha. Because I part of that I wonder too, because for gamers we usually have that kind of level of anonymity right behind the screen, behind our user IDs or our gamer tags to say like, oh, I'm referred to as this. So
Ah, yeah, I feel very aligned with the gamer community in terms of, when I think of gamers, I also think of comic books and Comic Con and
absolutely.
ways
Yeah.
to diversify who I am. Like this is one version of me, but when you're gaming, you put a different name sometimes and you become that character.
hmm
So,
Yeah, I love just that level of immersion, especially with the modern games, with whether it's the higher graphics or the VR even, or it's just like you become the character. It's like it's so visceral. It's very cool.
yes, totally.
So, and when you say, so we said working with sensitive overthinkers, what is your definition of a sensitive overthinker?
So, someone who either knows they're neurodivergent or has been classified, labeled, or it's just like, oh man, I don't fit in. I don't know what else to do. So, and that might have happened at 9 or 10 years old. And then, being absorbed in gaming or any interest, it's like you don't have to just go be social with randoms. You have a focus. You're like, oh, I play this game, you play this game. Now we can connect on a different level, and we don't have to talk about surface level stuff, which I find that gamers are often like, ugh, and so am I. So I really relate to the people who like to hyper focus on things.
Yeah, I absolutely get that because I love like the deeper conversations, right? Where part of it being a gamer, I think part maybe my personality, where yet the surface level conversations, like I can do it, right? Like it's just one of those, like just the what do you call it? Just the passive, just kind of talk or whatever, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
But it's like as soon as we find a game that we both enjoy, right? If I talk with somebody, it's I like to say with people like if you play Final Fantasy, if you play like really any of the Squaresoft or Square Enix games as the developer, I know we'll be fast friends, right?
Totally. It's like with concerts, with anything, it's like there's so many things to disagree about in this world. But when you find your portal to connection through something that you do a lot of, the whole nervous system relaxes. It's like, oh, I can just talk about what I like and I don't have to. The other day, I witnessed two people talking about cats and how me, I'm not a cat person, but how they just met and they were relating what I call surface level. And I was just like, I can't even listen. Like, I don't want to be near it. I don't.
Yeah.
And when there's an intricate learning process, and I'm a really big improv actor. So if somebody connects with me on that, like gaming, you step into a character and you play full out. It's like it's like I'm talking to myself but out loud. So it satisfies all these parts that want to connect.
I love that. That's right, because I think gaming is just such a huge a way to connect, right? Not only with the just because you talk about like very easy to say like the online kind of or the multiplayer, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, we're here together, we're playing. Cool. But I love what I mentioned on like the Final Fantasy, most of those are single player. And having that kind of shared experience even though if it's separate, right? It's like you play the game, I play the game, but now we can come and talk about it, right? So again, a lot like you mentioned, like kind of like the nerd culture, whether it's on comics or movies, this kind of thing. Like we have that shared experience. We experienced it, and we just depending on the lens we view it, we might view it a slightly different way, and we love to like talk about it. Sometimes even like friendly debates or arguments about it, like just all these little things. So even single player games is a great way to connect.
Absolutely. And even give each other strategies and tips. It's like, then you have a reason to follow up. And look, now you've made a friend. And, my background is special education and behavior. And so working with little kids that are so much happier playing alone is not unusual. But when they can play next to each other, which is called parallel play, which is what a lot of us adults do, everybody thrives. Like, why do we have to play basketball or things where it's just not physically comfortable for, you know, overthinkers tend to like thinking games and systems and learn how to play strategy. And so it's great. There's nothing wrong with it, except if you live in a world that's like be on a team sport or show up and do things. It's like that's just not what I want. And a lot of the gaming community also likes to be in their comfortable space with their snacks, doing their thing. And maybe there's an internet connection, or maybe it's just a solo experience, like you said.
Exactly right. Because yeah, there's so much, and I think growing up in especially for me, like in the '80s and that kind of culture too, where gaming was not. I wouldn't even really accept it, right? Because like I think in the more modern time, it's more accepted. It's not. It's still like a little bit stigmatized, but it's still like there's a lot more like influencers and stuff that play games. You're like, okay, so I understand gaming is a thing, but it's kind of it's entertainment. It's over here. And growing up in the '80s, it's like we don't even like you're on another planet. What are you doing? Like,
Yeah, you might not. I mean, like you'd have to go to a friend's house. I didn't have um the Atari when it first came out. That just that's my genre too. And so, like, who had and who didn't have, it was a whole. As a kid, it was like, oh,
right.
they must be rich. They have Kaboom and all these games, and like we had computer games, but they weren't as much fun. And now it's like, if you're a kid, especially during COVID, I think a lot of kids got video games because nobody knew what to do with their kids 24/7 every day.
Yeah, I think the what was it the Nintendo Switch had like a record-breaking sales when
Oh wow.
COVID hit,
Of
and
course, it made
and the
sense.
the new game that came out was Animal Crossing New Horizons, I think it was that one, was like one of the best, hottest selling games
Mm,
ever because nobody knew what to do, and so like everybody bought a Switch and everybody bought Animal Crossing.
yeah. Yeah.
So I completely understand. So one of the questions I have as far as trying to as we grow, right? So maybe as a kid, it's like okay, we understand, and I think hopefully those for listening can kind of grasp that, maybe you're different. Maybe it's like, hey, being a gamer, we don't go outside and play. Like, well, no, I enjoy what I like, right? And I like
Yeah.
the more mentally challenging, things for video games, especially with like the chat like puzzles and all sorts of like levels and bosses. And you're like, okay, you have to really make strategies and like quickly decide how to beat things. And then when we get older, it's like, okay, now I'm in a, work situation. It's like, how do I bring some of that same, you know, understanding of like, in problem solving to the workplace?
I love this.
Yeah,
So I don't even know if you fully asked the question yet, but I can answer.
go ahead.
Okay.
I have to say,
So
I have multiple questions, but we'll start with one.
okay, so whether it's, leadership in a job that you have to physically go to or online or playing a game, there is a huge amount of self-trust that has to happen. And sometimes in the middle of a meeting or in the middle of somebody, trying to ask you to do more work and not get a pay raise, there's something that has to happen in order to speak up, and that person has to trust themselves, just like in a game. There's an option to happen. It's not like, oh, you could take a day or two. No, in that moment you have to figure it out. And in my coloring book, which is also a workbook, one of the things, number 6, is a commandment, is take risks. And games, there's even a game called Risk. Like, you have to be able to take risks,
Yep.
and to take a risk you have to trust yourself. And you might think you trust yourself, but if you don't have the actual um, experience of doing it, your voice will be shaky, your thumb will move the wrong way. Like the alignment of speaking up in a work environment and doing the right thing in a game is the same. It's like if you push a button and it's sort of like half-ass, you're not going to have the same. All these video games are popping into my head from the 80s, but
Yep.
like the Mike Tyson knockout, like you have to
Yeah.
be able to move really fast and you have to do it with strength. And I remember just, moving that joystick forward or whatever it is. And in a meeting, when the boss says, anyone else have an idea? If you're like, well, I kind of, okay, thanks, have a great lunch, versus like, I do.
Yep.
So that ability, and sometimes you could do both and not make that correlation. But if you're a gamer, to start being like, wow, I am doing this with intention so that in my life, I realize this is working a trust muscle. This is getting me to trust myself in a more efficient way, more powerful way. And not to take yourself too seriously is a great lesson, that when you're in a game or in some kind of leadership position, and even if it's like not a corporate environment, let's say it's a school environment or a job like GameStop or somewhere, when someone tries to ask a question, there's nothing worse than somebody philandering and not really knowing the answer versus like, I don't know. Let me get someone else to help you. Like to
Right.
be confident in the I don't know is hugely powerful.
Right. Yeah. How many of us go to, whether it's a retailer or just any kind of shop, and the the employee just kind of flounders and is like, well, let me see, blah, blah, blah," versus, yeah, you want the person that would clearly say, I don't know, let me go check. Like,
Yes. Yes.
you're like, yes, I respect you. So I understand that you don't know, and that's fine. And I respect you for going and trying to figure it out now, or going to find someone that does know. Like, yeah, save me time by, not kind of just, trailing off to whatever, and let's talk about how we aren't understanding the situation for 5 minutes. It's like, no, like,
Totally. Totally. And as you were talking, I was imagining like a meeting in an office. Like if I asked someone, an employee, to do something and they were like, well, and they're just some kind of like, I don't even know what they're saying. It's just a bunch of words. This is, I don't know. I'd love to research it and actually learn. That's the same kind of thing when you're playing a game. You don't pause it and then spend 2 days doing research. You're like, I'm going to go find out right now, or I'm going to take the risk. So that's, two options that
yep.
are really very much the same. Um, and everyone respects anyone who speaks with, conviction.
Yes, having that conviction. And so you meant, I guess you answered a little bit of this already, but I want to kind of dive deeper into that kind of, risk-taking kind of situation,
Yeah.
because what I think is so interesting for the gamers is that I think we inherently understand, and as gamers, we are risk takers, right? Because we like to push the envelope of our games to
Yeah.
say, like, okay, let's see how far I can get with this, or maybe I don't have to do that. I'm going to shortcut over here. And okay, we might fail, we might succeed. Cool. But then when we get out in the real world, suddenly there's a change because it's like, okay,
Mm,
well, now there's real world consequences.
yes.
And
Yeah.
so I think the what I've noticed is I think a lot of gamers there's kind of the two extremes where it's like, okay, well, I'm a risk taker in a game, so I'm just going to risk take in life, and to the point where they might get burned a lot of the time. Where it's like, all right, you're a little too crazy.
Yeah.
But I think more often than not, we get the other people that you kind of mentioned, as far as maybe the overthinkers,
Yeah.
that are like a little bit more shy away from that. They're like, okay, I take the risks in the game. That's because there's no consequences. But now that I'm in real life, oh, there's consequences. I'm going to just shut down. Like, I don't, what would you say to those kind of people where it's just like, yeah, I understand risk taking, but that's not for me because now there's consequences?
I love those people. Those are my people. Here's the thing. There's always that pushy guy, right? That you're like, oh, I wish I could be like him. First step is admit, I'm not that guy. That is not how I operate. I'm not going to be that guy. But how I operate and how I help a lot of my leader people, or people who want to be more in their leadership, say is, listen, I'm not that guy. It's really hard for me to speak up, but here's what I think. So just slipping in the sentence of, it's not easy for me to speak up, but I feel really passionate about this, or I'm going to try something new and say and speak up here. So there's some admission of vulnerability. There's
Mm,
some safeguarding yourself of like, hey, don't reject me too hard because my heart's already racing. Or even saying that, like, right now I feel nervous, but I'm going to say it anyway. And start integrating that way of speaking. Communication is huge. And you know what? There might be some stuttering to begin with, there might be some weirding things out, but the greatest place to practice that is on the internet. So I see some TikTok people who play games and just broadcast their game, or they do it on Discord or a Twitch.
Yep.
So start practicing showing. So that was the advice of how to integrate it. But then to give yourself that actual practice, being witnessed in doing something builds your trust muscles in yourself. So if you go online and you practice playing and having other people watch you, there's something about that that raises the cortisol in the body. Like you get a little nervous, but then you don't die, right? You're not, nobody chops your head off. Nobody's like, you loser. And you start to feel like, wow, I can be seen. I can be witnessed when I'm doing things when people are watching me, because it gets really hard to come out of the closet of playing in your own little world and then going into your work world, and people are looking at your material, they're asking you questions.
Yep.
And a lot of sensitive people, overthinkers, hide in plain sight. They learn how to smile, nod their heads, and then they go back into their cave. But if you start to bring your gaming out into the world in simple tiny ways where you get witnessed in something you like doing, then when it becomes hard, you have that muscle that you can then integrate into other places.
Okay. Wow, that's really powerful. So just being seen in these kind of, I'll call it, safer spaces, or just, and what's I think really interesting about that too is what you mentioned. What came to my mind is the sense of treating it a little bit more like a game, in the sense of,
Ah, yes.
you know, what happens if you fail? Like you're not going to die.
Yeah.
It's not going to
But
happen.
the brain thinks you're going to die,
Yeah.
like that. The part of the brain that's like ready to, the black or white thinking will. And I what you just said is the whole point of this show. I feel like today is everything's a game.
Everything's a
Everything
game.
is a game. Like, even, if you're a right-handed person, can you brush your teeth with your left hand, which ignites the opposite side? Like, can you do it every day? Can you go home a different way? Can you look at somebody in the eyes for 5 more seconds? Like, to make it a game is the win. Like, as
Yep.
even if you die, at least you played. That's the point right there.
Yep. So just playing is sometimes enough, right? Because at some point you gotta it's like you have to do it. You have to move forward. You have to take the action. And sometimes I like the saying, the only way to beat a game is to play the game.
Boom. Period. Like, I teach a method called P.A.R.N, P-A.R.N,
Mhm.
and the first word stands for play. Like, being in a playful state, whether it's a romantic relationship, a game, any kind of self-expression, a test, anything that's hard. If you get in a playful state, if you can, then your nervous system is relaxed and all of your genius can come forth. But if you're like taking something seriously, guess what? Your whole body learns that there's too much writing on this, and you hold back and you like white knuckle things. But
Mm,
play is so crucial. And the simplest way to get out of a serious state and get into a playful state is, I mean, it's not easy, but it's simple, is to speak gibberish. And
okay.
it's because it's non-logical, non-linear, it makes no sense, nobody wants to do it, it's weird, and you're like, oh, I could do that. And how many people have I said, can you speak gibberish? And like, the throat closes because the brain is like, does not compute, cannot make sense, why would I waste my time? But actors and all kinds of people who get ready to be seen as some kind of performance, whether it's basketball or whatever, they do these sounds and movements that are not logical. And when
Yep.
our thinking brain wants to operate, when we live only up here, A, we're limited, but B, there's not a lot of risks that can be taken because the brain is like, you're going to die. Don't do that.
Yep.
So,
This is
like, whatever it comes out is it like gets the brain to recalibrate into like, what's
That's
the big
yeah,
deal?
because you're changing that state. You're changing that
Yes,
yeah that whole brain shift, right? It's like I like the term paradigm shift, where it's just like,
yes,
all right, we're in a whole different universe now. We're in a whole different section. So it's like, all right, this is new and we're ready to go now. We don't have the old conventions holding us back now. Move forward.
totally, totally. And also, you can't help but get a smile on your face. All that criticism goes away. And just to complete, so PARN is play, attention, as putting on attention on the other, revealing, and noticing. And you can take that anywhere. And, it's something that I use with a lot of couples that I work with, whether they're working on their own leadership skills. It's like PARN over porn. It's just a way to connect and to give yourself a framework to be able to do it and walk away with not just freaking yourself out, but actually accomplishing something.
Yeah. Wow, that's really powerful. So P.A.R.N. So
Yes,
the second part of that I was curious about too, because the attention side of it.
yes.
Because
Oh,
one of the concerns I think a lot of us have, and what I hear so often, I think in kind of the corporate world, is that people are not willing to move up in the organization. They don't want to necessarily get promoted to a certain point because they get to this manager role and they suddenly have all the attention.
yes.
And I'm like,
And nobody likes them. Nobody likes the manager. So
nobody
now
likes the
you're going to
manager.
get, all that attention from people in a different way. But what I love, and when I taught preschool, when I worked with millionaires, when I work with people in just regular jobs like high school kids graduating, there's a lot of pressure. And so it's going to come no matter what, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, wouldn't it be nice to make more money? But the A in PARN is putting your attention outward. So that can be in giving compliments, but also in focusing in what works by putting attention on others. It's such a cheat sheet. Like if you put attention on others and focus on what works about them,
Mm,
they're going to like you. They're going to feel a little warmed up to you and they're going to feel paid attention to.
mm.
And when you give attention to others, it's the best gift you can give. And then you can reveal something and notice how it lands. It's like just to keep that framework is like so juicy and so exciting. You're playful. You're like, okay, and then you go out and you're like, hey, bro, I saw that you leave a little early for lunch. Guess what? It's a beautiful day. I'm glad you did that today. And I'm just making something up.
Yeah, right.
So actually, that was pretty skillful because I just revealed something and put attention. But you can just say like, "Hey, I noticed that you wear green sneakers every day. I really like it." No matter what that guy's mood is in, he bought those green sneakers to get attention. So give it to him. You know what I mean? Everybody puts their head down and they just go about their business. But if you give attention to people, they feel seen and noticed, which relaxes them, lets their guard down be a little, down a little bit more. And then as the manager, people might say you're a kiss ass, but so what? Your nervous system will be more relaxed. So
Yeah,
what? You're a kiss ass. Like I think a kiss ass manager is better than a pain in the ass manager.
right. Well,
So
and I think it's an interesting distinction between the kiss ass. That there's because I think there's a subtle difference between being a kiss ass and just being authentic, right?
100% great
Because
point.
most of
Yeah.
the kiss ass is like, okay, I'm going to give you the attention and the compliments, but I don't mean it
Yes,
because
it's
I want to get ahead,
manipulative.
right?
Yes, it's manipulative and it's
Yeah,
also passive aggressive, but it has to be genuine.
yeah. So just yeah, just saying it to say it is like, well, okay, but if you actually mean it and you're truly giving that attention in a positive way, then yeah, that and I like what you said there because it sounds a lot like a game. It sounds like a game mechanic
The
as far
game.
as
Can you
like,
do 5 a day? Like, can you put your attention on 5 people every day? Can you give out 3 business cards every day? Like, giving your game a brain. Nope. Giving your brain a game is the answer. Like when I was a preschool teacher, and this was so many years ago, but I still pull from this, especially with boys. I would say, get ready, get set. And I didn't have to say, we're going to play a game. Just get ready, get set, go. And
yep,
they would run. It was just, it's a built in mechanism for ourselves, which is why we have checklists. There are apps that are like, can you meditate every day? And you get a little bit of dopamine by making a little checklist. So if you frame it as a game, you're then you can win or you can try harder. And it's fun. Then it becomes fun, which
Yeah.
already helps you to be in a playful state.
Yes, absolutely. And because the sense of fun, it's amazing how much time flies when you're having fun, right? Because
Totally.
when we play games, it's like time is just non-existent, right? Because I can't tell how many days I've played and then like suddenly be like 3 a.m. and be like, whoops. Like
100%. I've been in that, and I'm like canceling plans 9 hours later because it feels good, right? There's a challenge. You get to put yourself to a test. There's strategy. And lately, I've been playing Mahjong, and it's such an
Mhm.
interesting game because it's the most focused. Like, I'm a creative person. I don't have that kind of brain power anywhere else. I can't even talk or look at my phone. I'm just focused on this game. And my body loves it, feels good. And so you can transfer that feeling of when you're playing a game, even if it's solo, in life,
Yeah.
right? It's like even the game Frogger from back in the day, you're like trying to stay out of traffic, or let's say you go to a job you hate. Can you play with your mind that day to even to like figure out what works about that day, even if it was the worst day in the world? Can you wear two different pairs of socks so that you play, whatever little games that you don't tell anybody? Or can you write on your chest with lipstick, I hate my job, and go to work anyway? Like, it's all these ways that we make things lighter because it's real easy to be miserable. Really easy. So
Yeah,
the
and you
game
don't even have to
of
try for that, right?
you don't
So
even have to try. It comes naturally. So if you can learn to play games with yourself in any way, shape, or form so that you don't go down in a sinking ship, and even let's say the example you gave of you don't want to advance in work, so you sort of just hide out, get in your
yeah.
own way, be miserable. Can you play the is it possible game? Like another sentence that you can ask your boss, like, is it possible we can have a discussion about my pay? That's
Mm.
not going for the biggest risk. It's just asking for the conversation. And who can say no to that? It's a beautiful question. Can we have a conversation about my pay? Now you've modified it versus like, can I get a raise?
Right.
People
Yeah.
go from 0 to 60, and that never feels good for the person being asked or for the asker.
Exactly right. And so for those that have listened before, we have that kind of the same analogy in games as far as like that the kind of progression, right? And going through the levels, going through that experience because we start on a tutorial level and then we progress
Right.
each level. You don't skip. Usually, you can't skip in a lot, especially in the modern games. You can't really skip to the next level. You can't skip to the end. And some of the old games, they gave you little cheat codes where you could skip, but there was always a
Ah,
problem with that.
mm,
Is that if you skipped, you didn't have the opportunity to learn how to
correct.
play in the earlier stages. So
Yeah.
you skip to the next to like the final level. You're like, wow, this is insanely hard. It's like, well, of course it is. You haven't learned how to play the game yet.
Totally. And people, I have one-off sessions. People love them because when you're in your own self, your own stuff, it's so hard. It's like you can't learn the lessons of board 1, 2, and 3 because you're already at 4. You didn't go through the motions. So I help people reframe and I give them key sentences so that they don't just dive off the cliff and then have a case study of why they shouldn't take risks. It's like, well, you didn't do it in a way that felt authentic and natural. So of course it's going to feel bad. And now you've proven to yourself that you're an idiot. Like, that's not the way to win life. So
Oops.
to really modify and break it down and go through the steps and the stages will make you a better player, no matter if it's a game or life.
That's amazing. And then is that the same way, or is there anything different that you would do to continue that? Like just how do we stay motivated to continually do this over and over and over again?
So good. Well, we got to raise the stakes, right? If you win the game and you get to the pow end of it, it's like, I'm sure they're going to give you a two, like Fast and Furious. There's like 10 of them. Nobody's like, I'm done with that. They just keep going to the next. So the stakes always get higher and higher. Oh, you got more money? How about a vacation? How about your private office? How about working from home? Like, there's always more, but the brain itself wants to stay safe in a box, not advancing.
Yeah.
So you need someone else to be like, okay, bro, what's next? And so how can you do that without harming yourself emotionally without putting yourself through trauma is little steps here and there and everywhere. And there's so many little cheat ways to get through it, like practice with the Uber driver, practice with the guy at the deli. Can I ask you, is it possible for me to get extra cheese? That sometimes is a hard thing to ask for
Mm.
when they're busy, when, you kind of have a weird relationship anyway, but the stakes are not that high. But your body goes through the experience, and because it's busy, you might feel intense. You might be afraid to ask for more cheese. You might say, "Ooh," like let's say they put mustard, and you're like, "Man, I really don't want mustard." Some people will be like, "I'll just wipe it off by myself."
Right.
Or the risk would be, "Hey, I'm really sorry, but can you make that over? I don't want any mustard on the whole sandwich." You know what? The guy might be like, "Ah, but so what?" And then you might
Yeah.
say, "I don't want it at all, forget it." Who knows? But you have to be able to roll with the punches and trust that you're going to get exactly what you want. And other people might be uncomfortable.
Yeah, I understand that because I know so many people like that would order something and just take whatever they're given, and it's like that's not what you ordered. Like you should send it back, or you should ask them to modify it. And it's like, oh no, it's too much of a hassle, or they're
Yeah,
busy, or they're whatever. I'm like, you get like just to practice that's amazing. Just to like those little things, just the little experiences, right? That just kind
totally.
of build on themselves, right?
Yeah, and the way you show up one place is how you show up every place. And so, how much is it costing you to not have mentorship, to not be, pushed a little bit or like supported in moving forward and taking these risks? And where are you really lying to yourself? So in a game, right? Let's say you cheat the first things, you put in the codes. Guess what? You're not engaged. You're not passionate. You don't care as much because you cheated. And there's
Exactly.
nobody else will know that but you, but that's your lived experience. And so in a job, in a relationship, where are you slacking off? Where are you being a loser?
Yep. Where are you not focusing, right? Because having that focus to even see it too, right? Just to give it, like you said, give it the attention.
Yes. Yes. And you know what? To be honest, as human beings, sometimes we lie to ourselves so much because there's trauma. It's not like, oh, I'm just, self sabotaging, but it's like, hey, I had an experience as a kid where I got yelled at so bad that I never spoke up again. Well, it makes sense that you're a solo gamer and you don't want to work in a team environment. So, like, okay, that's your human quality. We're not going to try to change it. But how can we cheat it so you still have a life, you still get a paycheck, you still raise the stakes?
Mhm.
There's not one way to do it. Everybody's different. So I'm just throwing out examples, but some people have a really intense. I had a client that wouldn't be on video with me for a year.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, cool, no problem. You can still learn leadership in ways. And then one day they were having this big breakdown. They're like, I need to put my video on. I'm like, okay. So there's no one way to do it, and that's where the special education comes in. And, anybody who has that stigma of like special ed means A, B, and C, wipe that out. Like the word special is all of us. And so to be able to figure out how your operating system, right, which is a funny pun,
Yep.
works and to make it work for you, you don't have to be that guy. You don't have to be different. You just have to figure out how you operate so that maybe when you ask for a raise, it's on the phone. Maybe it's a Zoom call. Like maybe you don't have to be face to face because some people can't do eye contact and take a risk at the same time. These are little tiny nuances that can make your life work in a better way. Like, let's say you get a gaming chair, your whole game is different. So, let's say that day you're going and you have to speak to your boss in person. Maybe you wear your lucky shoes that make you feel taller, or maybe you
There you
brush your
go.
teeth with your left hand that morning and now the right side of your brain is engaged and you're creative. There's so many ways to trick the ego and to trick our normal looking for safety brain that will help raise your whole life and make everything different. I mean, it's incredible.
That's amazing. So I guess the game too is we gotta hack the brain. Gotta have
Hack
this.
the brain. Yes.
I love
So
that.
well said.
So yeah, so I guess the question is then, how can we learn more? So Shane,
Oh, well, I just happen to have this book. So it's a coloring book. I worked with an amazing artist, and it's the 10 Commandments to transform fear into joy. There's me, my dog Cooper, who's no longer with us, but it's really a way to, it's a path to be able to F or fuck your fears so that you're not left in the dust. And it's a coloring book. You can color, you can make your oracle cards. It's for all genders. But a lot of it is just laid out right here. Like treat yourself. So the first one is show the fuck up. For any meeting, for any game, you have to show up. And
exactly.
even within the showing up, it's like not just physically being there, because you can be checked out and look like you showed up, but really show up, really be engaged. And this book is a #1 seller on Amazon. So you could just go on Amazon and grab it, or you can reach out to me and I'll send you a signed copy with some crayons and a bookmark.
There you go.
Um,
Oh, that's
but you,
awesome.
yeah, because it's playful. If we're learning something and it's hard, guess what? You're not going to do it. If it ain't playful, you're not going to do it.
Exactly. So that's games I mean, they have to be fun. We like challenge, but
We
at the
like
same
challenge.
time, you got to have fun too. So,
Yeah, you're not going to play a game that abuses you and calls you names and stuff. You're not going to do it. Same, thinking about games as a kid, if you're not a team sport player and you're picked last, guess what? You're not going to want to do that.
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so you can get this on Amazon. That's a really easy buy-in. Or if you want this one-on-one session with me, I'm available for that. And yeah, there's no commitments, which is great because you can be like, all right, I love this or I don't. And I really have changed my ways to work with this fast. Everybody needs a fast answer. And so
Yeah.
I love people who just are like stuck, want to get out, call me, let's do this session, and go back into their life and use me on an as needed basis. They're my favorite things.
There you go. And I think that might, speak to the gamer community because it's all about games. It's all about instant feedback, right? Instant fast feedback. So like just having the one and done, just be like, all right, let's fix it. Okay, done, move on.
Totally. And in this book, I don't know where it is right this second, but there's a Shane on your shoulder doll. It's like when so many people have said that after they work with me, it's like they just have, and even some of the things we've said today in 2 weeks, they'll be like, oh, that's what she was talking about. Just like put me on your shoulder and just kind of pull from all the things.
Nice. That's awesome. So guys, definitely check out Shane Kulman, Enchantress Shane. And so Shane, we'll get the links for anything else for your socials. We'll put those in the description for you guys so you can check out more about Shane and everything super cool that she does.
Yeah. Thanks so much
Fantastic.
for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one final question before we go, which of course is, what is your favorite video game?
Well, it's so crazy. This is what's popping into my head. Tetris.
Tetris. Yes.
But actually, I was going, remember, I had a boyfriend, we broke up, and I was like so emotionally tormenting myself. But I was able to just lay in my bed and play Game Boy and get my mind away from creating stories. And of course, it's funny, I live in a small bungalow at the beach. I'm always moving furniture and I'm always like Tetrisizing everything so that it fits in perfectly. But that game was so simple and so stupid and so easy to get sucked into for like good 9, 8, 10 hours.
Oh, absolutely.
For
That's
all the
fantastic.
current gamers that have all the fancy accoutrement, Tetris was like the best thing.
Tetris. I mean, you got to respect the classics too, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great one. And I love that little added bit that, again, how gaming just influences our lives in sometimes the craziest way. Like, so arranging furniture, just like Tetris blocks, just making it all work.
Totally. Yes, making it all work. At the end of the day, that's the goal.
Fantastic. So, guys, Shay, thank you so much for being here. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.